Going on now at the White House Tesla Auto Mall. It's the biggest sale of the year.
Very safe, it's very strong, heavy, it's all steel, stainless steel.
Come on down to Pennsylvania Avenue just off Route 29 to get our best deal ever on a brand new Tesla.
I want to make a good deal here. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Get a Model 1 with a different panel and everything's computer.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
So don't waste your time going to those other Tesla dealerships with riots and flaming cyber trucks. You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
I love Tesla.
You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
This is really amazing.
Tesla. Good morning, rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and that's on the 4 Liberty Network, baby. Thursday. Oi! It's the Wake Up America show. Ashley Ann says that she missed it. No, you didn't. You didn't miss it. Here it is.
Tesla.
Going on now at the White House Tesla Auto Mall. It's the biggest sale of the year.
Very safe, it's very strong, heavy, it's all steel, stainless steel.
Come on down to Pennsylvania Avenue just off Route 29 to get our best deal ever on a brand new Tesla.
I want to make a good deal here. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Get a Model 1 with a different panel and everything's computer.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
So don't waste your time going to those other Tesla dealerships with riots and flaming cyber trucks. You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
I love Tesla.
You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
This is really amazing.
Tesla.
There you go. Tesla. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Fantastic. It's everything's computer. And that applies even more now than ever on the Wake Up America show. I'm going to ask you guys just kind of like stand by today. Stand back and stand by. If you remember the Proud Boys, just let you know that we're working with 2 computers today on the Wake Up America show in order to try and lighten the load on the laptop. All of the videos are now playing off of a separate computer that I've now brought in using a capture card. It's a lot of technical stuff. Everything's computer. So hopefully, I'm using 2 keyboards, 2 different mice, a Stream Deck, the laptop, the phone. Everything's computer. Welcome to the Wake Up America show. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. Click the like button. We're going to have a great show today. We got a billion clips. I've got an incredible set of guests for you today. Sasha Gong, the former director of the China branch of Voice of America Radio, will join us today at 7:30 to talk about her concerns about how the corporation or how the organization, which was set up to spread American propaganda overseas, has drifted away from its mission and been captured by the right's ideological enemies. Sasha Gong will join us this morning at 7:30 a.m. Central Time to start off Thirsty Thursday. And since it is a very thirsty Thursday, it wouldn't be Thirsty Thursday without Camellia to slake your thirst. I love the word slake. Slake. Tesla. Welcome to the Wake Up America show, where Camellia Peterson's going to talk to us about apparently Republican makeup is a thing. Like, this is a thing where, like, and then there's Democrat makeup where they dye their hair purple, make themselves as unattractive as possible. So we all know kind of what liberal makeup looks like and what it's hiding underneath it. But then you have Republican makeup where it's like very pancaked, very thick. There's a kind of look, a Republican makeup look that they have now. Whenever you like, if you're hanging around Mar-a-Lago, you'll see lots of women wearing the Republican makeup, they call it. Well, who better to talk about it than a woman who knows a thing or two about chicken butt red lipstick, but Camellia Peterson. Yee-hoo! 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 Tesla. At 8:30 a.m. Central Time this morning on the Wake Up America show, we're going to hear from Daniela Pensac. Yes, Mahmoud Khalil. Al-Khalam. You dog. Habibi. We're going to hear from Daniela Pensac about the Columbia University student who's had his green card ripped away from Donald Trump and is being threatened with deportation. All for the simple fact that he is a huge anti-Semite who's gathering students together and putting together protests in the United States against the United States. As a student in the United States, getting American taxpayer dollars to be educated here in the United States to protest against the United States. You know what? I'll just give you a sneak preview. Send him home. Bye. No, says the left.
No, God, please, no, no.
Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. No, not him. That's the former president of Iran. Mahmoud Khalil. We're going to talk about him this morning at 8:30 a.m. Central Time on the Wake Up America show. You don't want to miss a single moment of all of the lovely ladies of liberty. We've got Sasha Gong. We've got Camellia Peterson. We've got Daniela Pensac. Guests that you're familiar with. Some brand new guests that you've never heard of before. A long, long time ago, when I used to live in Northern Virginia, Sasha Gong took me on a little tour of her neighborhood. She was running for, I believe in Virginia, they call them delegates. They call them state delegates. I can't remember. It's the Commonwealth, so they have different names. Here in Missouri, we have representatives. Virginia, they call them something else. She was running for office at the time, and I went on a tour that she gave me of her district there in the Northern Virginia. I think it was in Fairfax County, if I remember correctly, and got to know Sasha Gong quite well. Got a copy of her book, was able to sit down and meet her. This was all through some of the connections. Met her through some of the connections that I had at work. And I'll tell you this, Sasha Gong changed my life, and not in a way that you probably would expect, and not in the way, like the profound way that would make someone say, oh, what is the deeper meaning of the story? Honestly, Sasha Gong is the one who introduced me to real Chinese food. It's delicious. Not like the General Tso or the Panda Express that all the kids are angry that they have to work at these days. But after we had taken a tour of her district and she had explained to me about running for office a long time before I ever did it, she took me to a real Chinese restaurant and got this bowl of fish soup with like white rice. One of the most delicious things I've ever tasted. I said to myself, this is Chinese food? So it was like black bean fish soup. And I was just like, Jesus, I'm missing out on all these delicious flavors, like all of these delicious flavors. And we choose General Tso here in the Midwest. Not that I don't like my General Tso, my orange chicken. I miss my Orange Julius at the strip malls. I love my Chinese restaurants here locally. I got nothing bad to say about some of them. But Sasha Gong actually set me on a path to culinary greatness. She doesn't know that. I'm not going to say anything about that to her while she's here live because we're going to talk about serious subjects. She was the director, the director of the China branch of Voice of America. She's written a fantastic piece about it, how it strayed from its mission, and frankly, it might be time to close it up. All right, there we go. Tesla. Everything's computer in Donald Trump's world. Elon Musk visited Donald Trump at the White House on Tuesday with a fleet of Tesla vehicles. Upon entering the driver's side of a cherry red Model S, Donald Trump was amazed by the car's technology. Let's take a look and listen in.
As a function of the great policies of President Trump and his administration, and as an act of faith in America, Tesla is going to double vehicle output in the United States within the next 2 years.
It's
Double.
a big deal. That's great. Thank you. And by the way, he makes one car. This one I don't understand. This one I don't want, but that's okay. Without a steering wheel. Comes out next year, right?
Yes.
Explain that, please.
Yes.
This one I don't want.
The Cybercab starts production in Texas next year, and it's self-driving. We have so much confidence in the self-driving nature of it that it'll actually not have a steering wheel. It will not have pedals. It'll either self-drive or not drive at all. But it'll self-drive.
President Trump,
And I'm going to pass on that, but
as a function of the great policies of President Trump and his
Good
administration,
stuff.
and as an act of
Good to see. Love to see it there. The visit came after the president posted on Truth Social Monday morning that he would buy a Tesla to support Musk, the special government employee who has become the de facto face of Trump's Doge effort. Tesla's stock has fallen in recent weeks amid worries over the tariffs, slumping sales prices, and of course, Musk is spending a lot of time on the Doge business. The radical left lunatics, as they often do, are trying to illegally and collusively boycott Tesla, one of the world's great automakers and Elon's baby, in order to attack and do harm to Elon, Trump said, and of course everything he stands for. Trump said, I'm going to buy a brand new Tesla tomorrow morning as a show of confidence and support for Elon Musk. Democrat strategists say Trump supporters, well, you're too poor to buy Teslas. Tesla.
Yeah, Julie, what's your reaction to this Tesla stunt? Is it ironic that the president is now touting electric vehicles?
I mean, first of all, it's not legal. Let's start with that. Second, I mean, you can't do this on the property of the White House. It's federal property. Second, I mean, really, the president is basically a car salesman now. It's just astounding with everything that's going on. I mean, literally, with everything that's going on in the world, he's taking time out of his day to array 4 or 5 Teslas on the White House lawn and basically act like a showroom salesman. By the way, I don't know who he thinks is buying Teslas, but I can guarantee you that they're out of reach, many of them, for the average Trump voter. So I'm not sure who in the MAGA universe he's urging to buy Teslas, because Teslas consistently, in previous iterations, were bought by wealthier, more environmentally conscious people. And so, you know, if he's trying to now get MAGA to go buy Teslas, I think that's not going to be very successful. But it does underscore that the protest against Tesla and the fact that the market is driving Tesla down is really having an effect on Elon Musk in a truly tangible way. Otherwise, the president of the United States would not be coming out and taking time out of his day to effectively sell Teslas.
Well, and this is, Mark, one brand, one type of car that affects one business owner, Elon Musk, but other U.S. automakers are saying, what the heck? I mean, here's a quote from another automaker here in the U.S. telling NBC News, Tesla has benefited more from taxpayer money than any other car maker by far. Now the White House is marketing Tesla vehicles. What's next?
I think that's exactly the right irony. The reality is that for many of us, we've opposed not Teslas, we've opposed taxpayer subsidies of electric vehicles, believing the marketplace should be a place people can choose what they want.
No, you don't believe that the marketplace could choose what they want. Boo. Scott Jennings had his say over on CNN.
Tonight, something I'm sure none of you have ever seen before. This is the president using the bully pulpit not to sell his agenda, but to sell cars.
Okay, wait a minute. We've never seen it before, she says.
It's hardly the first time we've had cars on the South Lawn. Man, here's a video of Joe Biden driving a Jeep Rubicon around the South Lawn. I mean, it's pretty common.
And President Trump did it.
Wait a minute. Yeah. Hold on, wait. But you just said this, Abby.
Tonight, something I'm sure none of you have ever seen before. This is the president using the bully pulpit not to sell his agenda, but to sell cars.
It's hardly the first time we've had cars on the South Lawn. Man, here's a video of Joe Biden driving a Jeep Rubicon around the South Lawn. I mean, it's pretty common.
And President Trump did it before in his first term as well.
It's pretty common for the President of the United States to boost American industries, American-made products, and companies that are, employing Americans. It's extremely common. He obviously has a close relationship with Elon, who, by the way, is, I think, unfairly under attack. And this company is unfairly under attack. You have these insane people all over the country chasing people down in their Teslas in New York City. I had a friend who tried to trade his Tesla in New York the other day, and there were protesters screaming at his children.
Look,
these people are unhinged, and they deserve support from the government.
But let's be clear, let's not skirt over the fact that Elon Musk spent $250 million.
Why is that black man wearing a cowboy hat on CNN?
To elect Donald Trump.
So you're against an American company?
No,
you don't want the government to support this?
It
doesn't look bad at a time when Americans are struggling.
Right.
To have the president hawking cars for the richest guy in the world because his political
Does it look bad for the president to support an American company that employs thousands of American workers?
No,
I don't think it looks bad.
No, he's supporting Elon Musk.
Who do you think builds the cars, brother?
Musk builds the cars?
No, the workers of the United States of America.
Who do you think builds the cars, brother? Damn, dude. He just called you got the black man with the cowboy hat, and you got Scott Jennings calling him brother. brother.
They're
What I'm
building
telling you
cars.
right now is the way I
United States 2025. Even if you're losing your shirt over the stock market crash, at least if we're all going to go down together, then we're all going to go down laughing.
He's not the only person that works there.
Domestic terror charges for people who were.
Why are they singling out Teslas? I mean, why? Because Elon Musk supports Donald Trump. These people are chasing Tesla owners. They might chase you someday.
So you agree on the domestic terror?
purchased in 2019.
I don't know. Look, Elon Musk currently holds a position of trust in our government. He is a top advisor to the President of the United States, and there's clearly a bunch of people out there who are targeting him and his products specifically. If that's not terrorism, I'm not sure what is. They are terrorizing people who bought an Elon Musk product.
That's right. Good job, Scott Jennings. We love it. Tesla. The Wake Up America show is live. Click that like button, guys. Show your love and support for the For Liberty Network. On Thursdays, we have the lovely ladies of liberty. Sasha Gong joining us here in less than 10 minutes. 9 minutes from now, we'll hear from the former director of the China branch of Voice of America. Then Camelia Peterson at 8 a.m. to talk about what is Republican makeup. And finally, at 8:30 a.m. Central Time, we'll hear from Daniela Pensac about that student, Mahmoud Khalil, who has had his green card revoked for stirring up protests and trouble here in the United States. Turns out that actually more than half of Columbia's students may be foreigners. And yes, these are public universities which end up getting American taxpayer dollars. At the end of the day, I don't think we should be funding it. So if we're going to fund it, deport. What do you say? Tesla. The Wake Up America shows, we've got 1 billion clips. I want to be able to show you as many as I can before we get started. Some of them are big news. This one, to me, I thought was pretty huge news, and I'm asking myself, how can I actually sell less coffee at forlibertyshop.com this morning?
How about no tax on tips? How about no tax on overtime? How about no Social Security? How about all those things? These are the kind of thoughts that will change America. I know what his goal is. No tax for anybody who makes less than $150,000 a year. That's his goal.
So
and that's what I'm working for.
Excuse me? What did you just say? Commerce Secretary Howard Lutnick says President Trump wants no taxes for people who make less than $150,000 a year. That is like the majority of people in the United States. You know what I'm saying? Like most people be out of paying income taxes. No taxes for people who make less than $150,000. Shaka Khan. Everything's computer. What do you say, Howard? I don't think they're going to be able to do that. Can't even pass a budget that cuts spending, but sounds good. Here's a laugh to start your morning. Trump one-liner on Rosie O'Donnell, who moved to Ireland recently over the incoming Trump administration.
Ireland is known for very happy, fun-loving people. Great attitude, many in this room right now that I've met. Why in the world would you let Rosie O'Donnell move to Ireland? I think she's going to lower your happiness level.
That's true. Thank you. I like that question.
Mr.
Do you know you have Rosie
President,
O'Donnell?
are you expecting?
Do you know who she is?
Yeah. I'm joking.
You're better off not knowing.
President Trump.
You're better off not knowing. Trump. Testing. Speculations about the president's mental health abounded, not by the left, but by the right, celebrating it after the president made a comment on J.D. Vance's socks.
Very interesting. Go ahead. Are you going to retaliate against and by the way, I have to speak of inflation. I love these socks. What's with these socks?
It's in honor of the T-shirts.
I'm trying to stay focused, but I'm these socks.
The president's trying to stay focused, but he sees J.D. Vance's socks. Okay. By the way, he's wearing, if you're listening later, he's wearing Shamrock Shocks. Shamrock Shocks, and the president, in sign of solidarity with the autistic community, said that he cannot focus because he keeps looking at J.D. Vance's socks. Hopefully we get over a little bit of the economic challenges that we're facing at the moment. The president is long-term bullish. Take a listen.
With his oil is down to $65 a barrel, and that's faster than I would have anticipated. We put on the gas. We stepped in the gas in order to get oil, and with what's happening. So we're getting that down. And when energy comes down, prices are going to be coming down with it. So in a very short period of time, we've done a very good job.
Okay, I mean, I'm down. Let's hear it for oil prices. All good news. Tesla, what about the Department of Education?
A good job. And if you take a look at our education process, and if you look at the charts, because they have numerous charts where they do the top 40, we're at number 37, 38, 39, and 40. And recently they hit, during Biden's last few days, they hit last. So they were number 40, and yet we're number 1 in cost per pupil. So it's pretty bad. But
for a number of the
we
states
have a dream. And you know what the dream is? We're going to move the Department of Education. We're going to move education into the states so that the states, instead of bureaucrats working in Washington, so that the states can run education. And they're not
Honestly,
doing a good job.
I'm down, Mr. President. You love to see it. We've got Sasha Gong, the Voice of America director of the China branch, formerly, will be joining us here live in less than 5. It's Thirsty Thursday. Don't go away. Go shopping. Get yourself a Tesla on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Tesla. Going on now at the White House Tesla Auto Mall. It's the biggest sale of the year.
Very safe. It's very strong, heavy. It's all steel, stainless steel.
Come on down to Pennsylvania Avenue, just off Route 29, to get our best deal ever on a brand new Tesla.
I want to make a good deal here. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Get a Model 1 with a different panel and everything's computer.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
So don't waste your time going to those other Tesla dealerships with riots and flaming cyber trucks. You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
I love Tesla.
You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
This is really amazing.
Tesla.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensac. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government, get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Welcome to the Wake Up America show. It's time to rise and freedom. Good morning. I'm your host, Austin Peterson. I'm glad and thankful to have you here. Click that like button. And if today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, click the follow button as well. We'd love to have you be a regular guest. Every Monday through Friday from 7 to 9 a.m. Central Time, the Wake Up America show streams live. And we'd love to have you hang out with us, drop a comment in the comment section. And of course, don't forget to visit the Grift Shop, as we call it. That's our merchandise shop where we sell our delicious Founding Flavors coffee. It's what I drink every day. And you can get that at 4libertyshop.com. Ladies and gentlemen, I can't wait to introduce to you my next guest. For the very first time joining us on the Wake Up America show, she's a seasoned journalist and the former director of the Voice of America's China branch. She brings a wealth of experience and a unique perspective to our discussion today. The Voice of America was established during World War II in 1942 under President Franklin Roosevelt. It was created to broadcast America's message and counter enemy propaganda. Its Chinese service launched as early as 1941. During the Cold War, it grew into a vital tool for reaching audiences behind the Iron Curtain. And our next guest is joining us right now. She risked imprisonment under Mao's regime by tuning in as a devoted listener. Then she became the director in 2011, uncovering internal challenges and foreign influence that have since jeopardized the Voice of America's mission. Joining us now, she's a journalist, she's an activist, Sasha Gong, joining us live. Everybody give her a warm welcome as she joins us on the show right here now. Good morning, Sasha. Welcome to the show.
Good morning.
So
welcome, everybody.
Yeah, glad to have you here,
I said
Sasha.
for you. I'm so glad. And we met years ago. We haven't seen each other for a while, but we talk on the phone.
Yes, Sasha.
And I'm very glad I watched some of your shows. It's wonderful.
Oh, thank you, Sasha. And we're very excited to hear about your media projects as well. We'll get to that in just a few minutes. But you wrote a very compelling article about the Voice of America. And the many people don't know much about its history, its background, which is why I just filled them in a little bit. It's been around for a very long time. Tell us a little bit about your experience as the director of the China branch and how the institution has morphed from the mission when you took it over to what it is today.
Yeah, well, I took it over in, the China branch in 2000, I think it's August 2011. And at that time, you see, Voice of America, when I listened, I also went to, I was in prison for a year. And one of my allegations was listening to Voice of America. I wrote about it long before I joined Voice of America. Anyway, so my impression was Voice of America was the one who tell the Chinese who we are, who we Americans are, and what our value and how we live in this country. So to break the information barrier there. When I got there, and as soon as I found out it was in the bad shape, let me put this way. Not only a government put a lot of money there, And most of the money has been wasted in useless thing. The worst thing is actually I found out a very large sum, perhaps like over $1 million. Well, if you added manpower and everything, well, $1 million or more dollars a year is used to serve the Chinese government. What they do is that, well, since before 1999, when United States Information Agency still exists, they have some guidance, and Voice of America have to serve America's interests. And after that, that didn't exist anymore. They said we take a market approach. The so-called market, if you have a market in the United States, I have no problem with that. But the market is in China, as in other countries that we have like 48 languages. So in nature, when you take a market approach, you are under the influence of the foreign government. So anyways, at that time when I got there, I said, well, what's your most popular program? They said, oh, a program called Culture Odyssey. I said, how the Culture Odyssey is done? Odyssey is done. And I look at it, the number is so dismal. Some programs had only like 2 dozens or 3 dozens of click. So I said, what do you do with all this manpower? They said, we send people to shoot around the country, to shoot American soft subject, which means non-political, and nothing object by the Chinese government. Anyway, so they shoot all the footage, lots of raw footage, and send it to China, and they let the Chinese TV stations to use them. Doesn't matter if the program itself is anti-America. They have done their job. They said they regained the market share. In fact, at that time, Gallup's, they have a real survey in China. It shows the audience is a little over 1 million, which is so dismal. I can't believe it. I said, this is a Voice of America in 1989. What we know at that time, the last survey, I saw the audience size is 17 million. And after that, every year it went down to a little over 1 million. But doesn't matter. Whoever created that mess got promoted. They always promote the least capable one because they know how to kiss asses. Sorry about that.
Let me recap for our listeners, Sasha, just so everybody knows where we're at. So you uncovered programs like Cultural Odyssey, and you realized there was nobody here in the United States really watching it, but what they would do is they would send out reporters and photographers across the United States and take photographs of things that were non-political, average Americans maybe going to Walmart, maybe they would photograph the worst or the least of us and take that imagery, maybe they film homeless people in the streets of Denver or San Francisco, then take that over to China and then give that footage that the American taxpayers paid for of themselves, and then it's being used to paint Americans in a bad light. So what happened? Can you talk a little bit about the resistance that you faced when you tried to terminate these programs?
Well, I terminated the programs and terminated a government contract, a very big one called CACA, something like it's a big contractor. What they do is just to make copies of program and deliver to China. That's all, and it's $100,000 a year. Gee, it's crazy. Anyway, so I terminated another program also they love, and Washington Post actually reported that, so how great the program. It's a blonde girl speaking some Chinese, and every week teach a few words of English. This is how I go dating. I see my boyfriend, so this is how we call this food. That sort of crap. And it costs at least $200,000 to $300,000 a year, and promoted by that stuff like that. So I cancel all these programs, the darling programs. I launch programs like History's Mystery, will have 33 documentary films made in years, 1 hour long each. And I have programs like American Democracy, First Amendment, Second Amendment. I actually shot four episodes of Second Amendment myself and things like that. Anyway, oh gosh, they hated it so much.
Yeah, I
They hated it.
can
And
imagine.
and the worst thing is that the Chinese embassy actually kept in touch with my supervisors. And they would come to my supervisor, the Chinese embassy. It's not State Department, whatever, and they complain about these programs. So they ordered to cancel the program. So history's mystery, mostly they hated it so much. And so I said, okay, you canceled. I do it in my own time. So I actually did it on my own time. I just did it on my own time.
Good for you. Good for you, Sasha. Now, you mentioned China's leverage that they have over the Voice of America and the U.S. Information Office's dissolution in 1999. How do you think that foreign governments exploit the Voice of America's independence, and what steps do you think should be taken to protect its integrity?
Oh, yeah, I would add a little bit, after I reformed those programs and within 3 years, the audience in China, based on the Gallup survey, jumped to 24.3 million. In 3 years. You see, anyone would get a promotion. I got a hit on my head. Anyway, the foreign government, the foreign government is kind of easy. You have an immigrant-based the staff, the reporters, they have to be native speaker. So the native speakers, almost all of them had relatives and family in China. And I do, but I was a former political prisoner, so they couldn't do anything to me. My mom kicked me out anyway for anti-government, so they could not do anything. So I wasn't afraid, but everybody else, you go back to China, they can deny your visa. They deny my visa anyway. They can harass your parents, which happened a lot. They can, contact you, said, you be careful and you do something. And also, if you have parents who are enjoying some benefit in China, for example, our most China promoter in VOA, his father was the head of the People's Daily in the United States. The People's Daily, which is the chief propaganda paper. And his mom at that time was sick, and she was in sort of a high-ranking official's hospital, something like that. A lot of benefit. The government can take them away anytime. So it's a mess, not only in China service. We are talking about Persia, Iran, and any other countries, authoritarian countries.
I'm speaking to Sasha Gong this morning. She's the former China director of the Voice of America Institution, talking about the bias that's there and how it may serve foreign interests, not American interests at all. Now, Sasha, you highlighted in your article an anti-Trump bias in the Voice of America's newsroom, especially on coverage of issues like illegal immigration. How do you think that this politicization has impacted the Voice of America's credibility domestically and internationally?
Very bad. Very bad. And what I've heard is the China branch, at least I saw the numbers in the past year, the audience went down by 70%. But they covered it up by buying some bots and something like that. But I have evidence. Anyway, so, after, 2016, when Trump won, that was the Voice of America director was an Obama appointee. And her name is Amanda Bennett. She's the wife of Don Graham, the owner of Washington Post. So Washington Post, we all know how much deal at that time Washington Post had with China. they, every Sunday they have a China observance something within the Washington Post paid by the Chinese government. That's one thing. And after Don Graham sold Washington Post to Jeff Bezos, he launched a business. He launched business in China. He launched business in China to recruit foreign Chinese students and teach them, prepare them for American schools. Partnership with many Chinese Communist Party schools to make, I don't know how much money. That's a multi-billion-dollar. So no wonder. You see, if you have such conflict of interest, you should not handle Voice of America. But,
I think
happened.
Elon Musk had said on X that he actually endorsed the closure of Voice of America, saying nobody listens to them anymore. It's just radical left crazy people talking to themselves while torching $1 billion a year of U.S. taxpayer money. My last question for you here, Sasha, before we have to let you go, I know you're very busy and we're grateful for your time. You suggest that Voice of America also may no longer be salvageable and that the American people need new voices. So what alternative platforms or strategies do you envision for the U.S. to counter propaganda and represent its values globally?
This is an age of social media. What we do is that if you want to be Voice of America, be Voice of America, which means we have a diverse voice. Your voice, my voice, and the Democrats' voice, everybody, diverse voice. But Voice of America, since they control with the English department, all this, they don't have a diverse voice. Of course, they have say, oh, you have to one voice this, and you have debate. But the newsroom is overwhelming, if not 99%. Democrats, and all the news come up there. So you see, they don't have a diverse voice. If you have diverse voice, let America's diverse voice be heard all over the world. That means our voice. And as Elon Musk said, we are the media now.
Yes.
We are the media now.
And speaking of, Sasha, you've got your own media institution as well. Our listeners, I mean, they would inundate you with questions for hours, but I know we've got to let you go. So please tell us a little bit about your media venture and what you're up to these days.
Yeah, I am trying to recreate a real Voice of America. It's real. What means, and actually I use AI with no money. I have no investment, no money, my own money. And to use AI to create different language. You have every day I pick up good articles in English media and translate them with AI and with human as editors and present it as a real TV program. It looked like big TV, and I can multiply with different languages. I can do Spanish, I can do Russian, I can do any language. Currently, I'm doing 2 languages, Cantonese and the Mandarin, the 2 Chinese language I know very well. But I think in the future, we do it together, we can create the real Voice of America in the AI time, and we help to promote our value and promote our people.
See, we don't need taxpayer-funded propaganda. We have pro-American values that are represented on networks like yours. It didn't even require a single penny of taxpayer investment. Same here on the For Liberty Network, where we stand 5 days a week on the Wake Up America show, and people get to hear from incredible, amazing, and interesting guests like Sasha Gong, who's joined us live this morning, been very generous. Sasha, we can follow you over on X, correct?
Yes.
Follow Sasha Gong over on X. She's an old friend of mine, at Sasha_Gong. She's a scholar, a journalist, a filmmaker, and a human rights activist. And Sasha, we're so grateful for your time. Have a wonderful day and good luck with your media venture.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Tesla. Going on now at the White House Tesla Auto Mall. It's the biggest sale of the year.
Very safe, it's very strong, heavy. It's all steel, stainless steel.
Come on down to Pennsylvania Avenue, just off Route 29, to get our best deal ever on a brand new Tesla.
I want to make a good deal here. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Get a Model 1 with a different panel and everything's computer.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
So don't waste your time going to those other Tesla dealerships with riots and flaming cyber trucks. You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
I love Tesla.
You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
This is really amazing.
You love to see it. Now, guys, where else do you get such quality entertainment in the mornings, coupled with insightful journalism, real reporting, like the conversation we just had with Sasha Gong, former director of the China branch of the Voice of America? You don't get it anywhere else but right here, baby. It's the Wake Up America show. So click the like button. If today's your first time watching the Wake Up America show, click the follow button as well. We'd love to have you be a regular guest on the show. I forgot to tell you guys, we got bonus content today. I've been like retooling and revamping the project. I still got a few bugs to work out, a few kinks. But if you guys want to see today's bonus content, instead of watching commercials when I go to the commercial break to go and get my guests, then I highly recommend that you drop some Rumble rants now. Let's do it. Tesla. Join the Wake Up America show's mission to spread the ideas of economic freedom and personal liberty. Like Sasha Gong's her media organization, we have zero taxpayer dollars and no investment, just me and everything that I've put together, all the skills that I have in my life, my beautiful wife, and a little baby that we're taking care of, and Brad Beckman. Support the crew, unlock the bonus content, drop some Rumble rants, and if we hit $75 raised before the end of the show, then you guys will unlock the bonus content for the day. It's about a treehouse haunted by the government. So unlock today's bonus content in two ways. One is you can drop Rumble rants over there in the chat. Very simple, very easy. But maybe you're watching us on a different platform this morning, and that's okay. I don't mind, as long as you're watching the Wake Up America show. We love to have everybody participate in any way that we can. But if you want to support the Wake Up America show financially and you want something a little in it, what's in it for me, AP? Well, if you go to forlibertyshop.com, that's the number 4, libertyshop.com, forlibertyshop.com. Then you buy something there at the shop during the 2 hours of the live stream this morning, say a box of coffee or maybe a Gulf of America beach towel. It's soft, it's plush. Tesla. And if you buy an item from the For Liberty shop during the live stream, then that counts towards the total to hit the $75 bonus content mark. And when we do, you unlock that bonus content. So let's do it. Unlock. Tesla. Real Hunter Human says, why Austin have a picture in Russian behind? It says, kill the wolf. It's a World War II propaganda poster. I'll zoom out at some point and show you guys. I don't think I have my camera angle set so you could see it. Okay. My GoPros, for whatever reason, have not been cooperating here in the studio, so I can't show you a wide lens. But the Wake Up America show, of course, is supported by the not only views, the likes, the follows, but those Rumble rants as well. So drop those Rumble rants, guys. One last time, drop those Rumble rants in the chat and help to support the Wake Up America show and unlock bonus content. You get a little something for you. Tesla. We're going to speak to Camelia Peterson about Republican makeup here in a little bit less than 10 minutes. What is Republican makeup? Well, you're going to find out in a little bit less than 10 minutes. So make sure you stick around for Camelia Peterson. This morning, we're just sharing a billion clips before we go. After all of that crap that Thomas Massie got for potentially killing the continuing resolution, now listen to what the Democrats are doing.
Republicans are marching America to a painful government shutdown. But we need traditional Republicans to break with MAGA extremists so we can keep the government open.
Republican shutdown will cost 6,306 of her constituents their paychecks.
Put the bill on the floor for an up or down vote so we can end this MAGA Republican nightmare. And if you don't, you own this government shutdown.
And we could put the threat of a shutdown behind us. Our agreement would keep the government open, provide emergency aid for communities battered by hurricanes and other natural disasters.
It's about the harm that House Republicans will do to the American people if the government shuts down.
One Democrat said to me they feel like they have a mandate from their constituents to shut down the government.
There are some
raising the possibility of shutting down the government in March.
We will use whatever power we have, and fundamentally, we're not going to vote for something that undermines the American people.
To withhold votes, do Democrats have the stomach?
I certainly hope so. I know that I'm not going to vote for their proposal for sure.
Are you prepared to shut down the government, to join Democratic colleagues who want to stand in the way of keeping the government open?
Well, there are
Is
simply
that
trying
yes?
So yes, look, if we have to take steps.
14 days from now, government shutdown is looming.
If we don't believe that we have a willing partner on the other side, then we need to stay united and not bail out President Trump.
And yet, at the same time, in order for a lot of voters to fully understand what Elon Musk and Donald Trump are doing, people are unfortunately going to have to feel some of that. And the only way that that happens is if the shutdown happens.
Oh, wow. Own the shutdown, don't own the shutdown. It's amazing how they just they can just turn on a dime, just like that. Bam. All right, it's time for us to go to break. We haven't unlocked the bonus content, but you should. Go to forlibertyshop.com this morning, guys. Buy a box of coffee. Unlock the bonus content. You get to see that instead of the commercials. We'll be right back with the lovely Camelia Peterson. Is makeup Republican? We'll talk about that when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensac. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that they know so much that isn't so. If we lose freedom here, there's no place to escape to. This is the last stand on earth. This is the issue of this election. Whether we believe in our capacity for self-government or whether we abandon the American Revolution and confess that a little intellectual elite in a far distant capital can plan our lives for us better than we can plan them ourselves.
The conservative, so-called, is the one that says less government. Get off my back, get out of my pocket, and let me have more control of my own destiny.
Do you hate the deep state? Do you reject the Antichrist in all his ways? Do you believe that aliens controlled LBJ to assassinate John F. Kennedy? Did you know that the shot can put chemicals?
Camelia's running late. This is Shelton Snow, an air traffic operations supervisor at the FAA and a prominent figure inside the National Black Coalition of Federal Aviation Employees. Here he is, allegedly caught on an undercover audio explaining how he will help minority air traffic controller candidates cheat on entry exams. Remember when Trump said that the problem of the crashes was DEI? Take a listen.
Washington Suburban Associate members, brothers and sisters, listen. It's been a really busy time for me these past 4 days. I know that each of you are eager, very eager, to apply for this job vacancy announcement. And trust, after tonight, you will be able to do so. I am asking that you give me another 15 or 16 hours. Allow me to go to work and come home, provide you with an email that will be extremely crucial in the opening stages of this hiring process. There are some valuable pieces of information that I have taken a screenshot of, and I'm going to send that to you via email. Trust and believe it will be something that you will appreciate to the utmost. Keep in mind, we are trying to maximize your opportunities, and I'm doing the very best that I can with the time that I'm given. Today when I get off at 11 o'clock, the first thing that I'm going to do is I'm going to finish out that email. I'm going to send it to each of you, and as you progress through the stages, refer to those images so that you will know which icons you should select. Now, I have a good mind to send it to one of my HR representatives first and give them the opportunity to sign off on it before you actually click it. But in the sake of time, I'm going to send it directly to you because I'm about 99.99% sure that it's exactly how you need to answer each question in order to get through the first phase. People have been getting rejection notices, and those rejection notices have been coming after about 24 to 36 hours after clicking submit. And I want to avoid that. So what we're going to do is we're going to take our time and we're going to make sure that everything that we click on, and you're going to even have to go back to your resume and make some changes because one of our members and I have caught something, and we want to go back and we want to fine-tune those details. And I guarantee that will give us the very best feeling that we could ever get in applying for this job. VRAs, those that have received tentative offer letters, we want you to apply for this job anyway. Messages came back saying do not give the agency an opportunity to say they never gave you one. So apply for it anyway.
That's Shelton Snow, Air Traffic Operations Supervisor of the FAA, helping the minorities pass the air traffic controller candidates exam. I think there needs to be an investigation done. Let's talk to Camelia Peterson about that and more when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com. Good morning. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show, and that's on the 4 Liberty Network. Glad and thankful to have you here. Today's Thirsty Thursday, which means we have the lovely ladies of Liberty here. We already spoke to Sasha Gong this morning. If you're just tuning in now live and you missed that interview, make sure that you go back and listen to my interview with the former director of the China branch of the Voice of America news organization. It's compelling, fascinating. You don't want to miss that. Make sure that you get a chance to listen to that if you haven't already. But we've been talking about serious subjects this morning, and now we have an even more serious subject. Is makeup political? A debate that's playing out on social media over beauty and what it might say about someone's personal or political values is happening. On one side, people are taking an aim at so-called Republican makeup, talking about heavy foundation and overfilled eyebrows as an expression of conservative values. In response, conservatives are accusing liberals of clumsily applied clownish makeup that doesn't align with traditional gender norms. You know, bright hair dye, piercings, and neon lipstick. Joining us now to discuss is a woman who knows a thing or two about her makeup, Camelia Peterson, on the Wake Up America show. Oh, we don't get that chicken butt red lipstick today, I see.
No, I would have to find it because, well, you know how much of a priority the makeup is for me.
Are you? So it's funny because I saw this article, sent it to you, and then you had been on another radio station with our friend John Combest talking about apparently makeup, and I don't know, was it because of this story, of this big news story, or was it you guys just were talking about makeup in general?
No, we were just having a conversation. It was not related at all. But anyway, you know, I will say that they're not entirely wrong, you know, when the left is talking about Republican makeup, so to speak. I don't know that you could do it by party, but there certainly has been a trend towards heavier makeup with prominent women in Republican circles. It seems like, at least the ones that we elevate. Like, I think that's actually the problem, is that it's a trend in the ones that we elevate. Not we, but like, you know, universally.
What about Matt Gaetz and his makeup?
Okay, like, right? I mean, it's funny because every time a man comes out, you know, and they were even saying that about J.D. Vance, like, is he wearing eyeliner? Is Matt Gaetz wearing eyeliner? Or is that just, you know, how they look? And you know, they're probably wearing a little eyeliner. It is, well, you know, here's the thing.
These are the expressions of masculinity in the United States. J.D. Vance would never wear makeup. No.
Filters and makeup have so skewed kind of what we view as normal anymore that it's funny because you'll see these debates, you know, online from time to time where men will be like, oh, you know, I like a woman that doesn't wear any makeup or very little makeup or whatever. And then like the picture of the woman they think is a natural look is actually so heavily made up. There are layers upon layers of makeup and it's not natural at all. And so, you know, I don't think that there's anything wrong, obviously, with, you know, enhancing your look some. And it's definitely something that women tend to do more than men, thank goodness.
Yes.
But, you know, on the other hand, like that visual element is probably more important to men than it is to women.
Right. So the political science professor, Maggie McDonald, that they interviewed for this article, says that these attacks that are being made in Congress on each other, ridiculing each other's makeup or the way that your body looks or whatever, this is kind of, it's very appealing to people who are more politically disengaged, meaning that for people like us who tend to be more politically engaged, for most kind of like politicos, we're kind of like, oh God, can we move past this stuff? But if you want to really engage young people, if you want to get people talking, then you have to have like the quotes like, what's this one? Where they said that Jasmine Crockett had fake eyelashes and they were interfering with her reading skills. And then
sorry, that is
that's funny as shit. But then Jasmine Crockett responded saying that Marjorie Taylor Greene had a bleach blonde, bad built butch body, which also true.
Oh, I forgot that was Jasmine Crockett in that exchange. Okay, that's funny.
Yeah. So she was the one who attacked Jasmine Crockett, saying that her fake eyelashes were interfering with her reading skills.
Right.
And then Crockett shot back with the bleach blonde, bad built butch body, which I don't know. I mean, butch, I mean, no woman I think wants to be described as butch unless she's butch and proud. But I mean, bleach blonde, that's a Republican thing.
I mean, yes.
Yes.
Although I will say that there do seem to be more women that are kind of going the other way as far as dyeing their hair darker as opposed to the bleached blonde look. I think that was pretty like 80s, 90s. You know, it does seem to be going the other direction. But one of the conversations I was having was like with women, like, is there this trend, and especially when you're talking about Maha and everything, is there this trend that women are going more natural with their hair? And somebody asked me, well, don't like most women between the ages of 30, like 70% of women between the ages of 30 and 50 dye their hair? I'm like, I have no idea. So I do think that there is a certain part of the right that is more comfortable with aging naturally, but then the people who are really in the public eye, and when you're talking about, especially people like Nancy Mace, that's one of the pictures on the cover of this article is Nancy Mace. And I don't know who that other woman, is it a woman, is that is on the other side of that picture. I know this person was highlighted during the joint address the other day. And so there's so much crazy makeup on there. It's really garish, right? And I don't like, it's hard for me to look at that and tell who that is.
You should do one of those like get ready with me videos like they do on TikTok, and do like get ready with me as I put on my Republican makeup, just because I think it'd probably go viral, honestly.
So that's the trend, right? Is that the left is doing these get ready with me, you know, and do Republican makeup videos, which I gotta be honest, like people who do these get ready with me videos, I'm just kind of impressed that they can multitask to that extent, because I'm pretty sure that I could not, you know, put on anything, you know, and talk at the same time.
Hold on, I got some makeup here somewhere. Hold on, let me see if I can do this while we're getting ready. All right. So Camelia, what would be an example of Republican makeup, would you say? How would you, what is the characteristics of Republican makeup, would you say here?
Well, I do think that you need like several layers of base makeup. Like it's not enough. The powder is not enough. Like you have to have concealer, you have to have foundation, and then after that you have to do the powder. And it's so funny you did this because I just came across an Instagram reel from, it's probably this guy's, he's a host on a TV news show, and it was from like 7 years ago, but he was doing a get ready with me, and he's like, aggressively blending all of the makeup, right? And it's like, and it was like really amazing how much he was actually putting on his face. And I just look at that and I think that looks terribly uncomfortable for starters. For me, yeah, I wear some makeup, but if it gets to be too time intensive, it takes too much time. Same thing with hair coloring. Like I have to be fairly low maintenance because ain't nobody got time for that.
Yeah, yes, agreed. Yeah, I used to, when I was in the studio, put on a little concealer or that powder makeup, but
yeah, I don't think there's anything wrong with that because lights and everything, can really, it's all about lights and angles, baby, right? Lights and angles.
Drew Van Runkle's giving me the gay rainbows over there in the chat.
I mean, there were rumors for a long time about you.
Yeah, until I got married, but they never knew the real me. That was the funniest thing about it is like, there's their public persona and then there's the private persona. And, when I ran for office, people were like, he's not married, and he's, he dresses nice. He must be gay, right? Yeah. But they didn't know the real Austin. Camellia.
And he has like 50 pair of shoes.
and twice as many girlfriends. Camellia, how do you see makeup functioning as a political statement in today's climate? Do you think it's more about identity or just kind of a new way to troll each other? Because we can identify, if I see a liberal, I can identify them by their makeup. If I see a woman dressed up kind of like with like what we call conservative makeup, I identify them as a conservative. Is this an identity?
I think that the way we do makeup, the way we dress, I think those are all things that reflect our identity. They even to a certain extent reflect our values and what we think of ourselves. So I do think that how we put our appearance out there is a reflection of what's inside. And yeah, I think that they have a fair point when they talk about how that Republicans have, dragged the left for a long time about their wild hair colors and, the garish makeup. Although, I don't know that it's been the liberal women who have worn the really, garish makeup. I actually think they've probably had more of the natural look when you talk about mainstream Democrat women than it is on the right with Republican women lately anyway. Because if you look at someone like AOC and compare her to, say, Nancy Mace or Kristi Noem, like AOC has the more natural look, if we're being honest here. And it's the one thing too, by the way, I've noticed with some of the Republican women that we see more often is that there is kind of this thing now with the heavy eyeliner and it's top and bottom. And that's going back to like 90s, where you're doing heavy eyeliner all the way around. So that's, and I think that too, part of this is, women sometimes as they get older feel like they need to do more to cover up that aging process. And the downside to that is it actually makes them look older. It's not helpful. More is not always better.
Yeah, no, some of these Republican girls that I see at events, they look like 40, they're in their 20s. They're 40-year-olds trying to look, they're 20-year-olds who have so much makeup on that they look like 40-year-olds trying to look like 20-year-olds. So they're not actually in their 40s. They're in their 20s, but I think they're in their 40s because they're wearing makeup in such a way, like it's so pancaked on that it looks like what women do when they start to get a little desperate, right? When the eggs have dried up, we're postmenopausal, we're getting hot flashes, lashing out at people, right, in public and behaving like a damn fool. But it's like, why do you do this to yourself, ladies? Here's the thing. Makeup creates, and this is so important for women. Tell me if I'm wrong. Makeup creates in-groups and out-groups, right? That's a real thing. That's why when Pamela Anderson came out, I don't know if you saw, but she was like, the Baywatch star of the 1990s. Yes. And now she's older and she doesn't wear makeup when she goes to events. And it's considered a statement.
Right. And I think a lot of people were like, ooh, and they reacted really negatively to it, right? that was, so, I mean, it was, and I think that's kind of where we are, is that the no makeup trend is more countercultural at this point. But I don't think that it will really ever gain traction, even as a countercultural movement, because the truth is that, you know, as women, we're all a little insecure about our looks, even the prettiest ones. And so, you know, there is this pressure to enhance those looks. And this is something that is as old as time itself. So this is nothing new to the human race. But yeah, I do think that it is a reflection. I do think it's a negative one in a lot of ways. But I will say that I don't know that you can say that this is broadly every woman on the right, because I think we have a lot of women who are in Congress that are pretty normal with their makeup, but they are not the ones who are getting attention. The ones who are getting attention, like say I'm going to pick on Nancy Mace because she drives me nuts, but like the ones who are getting attention are the people who they have other stuff going on, and they have this need for attention, and they're getting that in every way that they can, positive or negative. And so I do think that their makeup is a reflection of that. Yeah. I think that honestly, it is with Kristi Noem too. I mean, when you look at kind of her background, you know, she was lauded for a lot of conservative policies, but the truth of the matter is that she had a legislature who really held her in check. When she was in Congress, her voting record really was not good. And so I think, you know, makeup can be a way, I think, of compensating too, because you've got to play up those feminine features, you know, to make up for other deficiencies.
Oh, yeah, Camellia, damn. Shivved. Good morning, everybody. Rise and freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show. I'm speaking to Camellia Peterson this morning. She's joining us for a very thirsty Thursday. We're talking about Republican makeup versus Democrat makeup and the impact that insult politics has in bringing in people who are not typically politically engaged. Not sure if it's a good thing or a bad thing. Women in politics, though, they seem to get hit a little bit harder with the appearance critique than men do in politics. Now, you know, Bernie Sanders, I saw, was named like one of the best dressed congressmen. And honestly, when I saw him in public, he looked like a homeless man. He's never been that well dressed. I mean, and trust me, in DC, people are very well dressed, but women, they really get it hard. How they look and how they act. So I mean, like, do you feel as a woman in politics, Camellia, that you really are held to a higher standard with your looks versus men in politics?
Sure. And I think that's just a natural expectation because of the differences between the genders that, you know, our friends on the left do not like to accept. And, you know, for women, it is how you wear your clothes, right? But it is also like if you wear things a little too tight and low cut, well, that's a little more accepted on the right now, but it used to be you would get disparaging comments for being too trampy, right? But then if you are wearing a flour sack, right, you're too frumpy, and so I'm like, women kind of have to walk that line of what's acceptable and what they wear that's flattering, but not too, you know, skanky. But then, you know. But then for women, I mean, like, it is also about how you wear your hair, your makeup, you know, your appearance, how you maintain your skin. There are lots of things that people notice about that physical appearance. With men, it tends to be more, to a certain extent, what they wear. And I think that, you know, this is something that we've come to start looking at a little more. So, for example, the other day when Donald Trump points out J.D. Vance's shamrock socks, right? You know, so for men, those expressions come in the form of shoes, you know, socks, the suits that you wear, the ties that you wear. Like when men wear suits, like when Trump was at the joint address and then also at the inauguration, people were looking at his tie. Like, what does that mean? Is he, you know, signaling something with his tie? Because I think he wore the same one both times. And it fascinates me a little bit because it's like a tiny pattern of red and blue. And it kind of looks purplish, you know, from a distance. But anyway, so I think those are kind of the differences in how we perceive both genders. But women definitely are judged more heavily on this part of things.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's just the facts of life. Now, if you were going to advise a politician today right, on their public image, would you tell them to lean into like a signature Republican makeup look to try and connect with voters? Or would you tell them to kind of keep it neutral to avoid the backlash that they might get on social media? So would you tell them, you know, tramp it up or tramp it down? Tramp it up, trampy, non-trampy. What level of tramp would you suggest for a Republican female politician? And I know, stop being optimistic and believing in the best of people, Camelia. That's retarded, okay? You need to remember how people actually are. And tell me, how would you advise a conservative Republican politician running, in the state of Missouri for office, tramp it up or tramp it down?
So, I mean, I obviously have my personal biases here. I don't know that it's, for women, and if you're running for office or you're trying to relate to voters or whatever your position is like that, I don't know that it's so much about the type, like the style of the makeup that you wear as much as it is. I think that a lot of what this is are the things like the Get Ready With Me videos, because that is what people find relatable, and it's something that lets people into kind of your personal life, that makes them feel that connection with you more. And so I really think that it's more about that than it is about the actual look of the makeup that you're applying. So, if I'm telling you something, like I think that, you should not do trampy makeup just because, let's not go out looking like a hoe.
You're giving up all the horny votes, as Drew Van Runkle said out there. There's a lot of, as we've noticed with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and some of these other congresswomen, there are a lot of horny voters.
Yeah, well, okay, but let's be real. Like, the horny guys don't really go out to vote, and we saw evidence of that with Valentina. Valentina Gomez Noriega is a classic example of that. Because they thirsted after her and everything else, but didn't help.
Missouri men are not into angry Latinas with butch bodies who pronounce Walmart like Walmart. No, that's racist. All right, Camille, I got to run. I got Daniela Pensac coming up live in 5. Anything else you want to say on this topic or share with our audience before we let you go?
Well, ladies, I would say, do your best, but, just remember, less is more, and tasteful is always good, and it never goes out of style.
Please. Camelia, follow her at Rare Camelia. We'll see you next week, Camelia. Have a great one.
Have a great day, everyone.
Boo, boo, terrible. All right, Mahmoud Khalil. He is a Palestinian coming to the United States. He's advocating in favor of Palestinian policies. He is advocating against the American government and the United States. Should we send him home? Let's talk to Daniela Pensac about that, and we'll ask her about Republican makeup when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. I don't know if we're going to unlock the bonus content today, guys. I don't think we're going to do it. You'll have to go to 4libertyshop.com, make some purchases, because if we hit the $75 mark, you get to see the haunted Treehouse when we get back on the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.
Are you tired of the strange radioactive effects of leftist culture? Do you ever wonder what happened to good old-fashioned American values? Well, fear no more, because there's a new force fighting back against the cultural rot of today. Introducing Culturama, a right-of-center talk show that's taking back the future today. Hosted by none other than blonde bombshell herself, Daniela Pensac. She's not just talking, she's taking culture back. With sharp takes, brilliant guests, and a few surprises along the way. Tune in to the live video podcast twice a week, because the future doesn't have to be weird. It can be Culturama.
If there wasn't going to be somebody who was a fiery champion of liberty, somebody who would get out there and who would be aggressive, and if they wouldn't do it with more fire or passion than I had, then I would go and I would fight this battle for us. I've fought for the principles that we all share. Parties tend to be secondary to me. We're here because we believe in the principles of liberty. I am not a perfect messenger, but I think I'm a damn good one. This is a replica of our first president's flintlock pistol. You have my full support, my respect, and my gun.
I think that the heart of my philosophy is much more libertarianism than well, that's the fashionable word these days, I guess. A conservative is no longer just that. He's a libertarian and always has been.
Yet any time you and I question the schemes of the do-gooders, we're denounced as being against their humanitarian goals. They say we're always against things, we're never for anything.
What is fascism? Fascism is private ownership, private enterprise, but total government control and regulation.
Well, the trouble with our liberal friends is not that they're ignorant. It's just that
I agree. Free Palestine. Free Palestine from Hamas. Good morning. Rise in freedom. I'm Austin Peterson. You're watching and listening to the Wake Up America show on the 4 Liberty Network. Thanks to everybody who's helping unlock the bonus content. We're only $25-ish away, it looks like, to unlock the bonus content. Andy Opperman, JJ4884, and Drew Van Ronkel helping to unlock that bonus content. I'll tell you what, we'll make it even 20. All we have to do is hit another $20 by the end of the show, and you'll unlock today's bonus content. We'll be very grateful to have you do that. Free Palestine. Mahmoud Khalil, a Palestinian activist and Columbia University graduate, he was in charge of that protest, quote unquote, that you say looks like a lot of violence to me. Boarding the doors closed, creating chaos here in the United States. Well, he was arrested by U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, on March the 8th at his university-owned apartment in New York City. He's currently detained in Jena, Louisiana, facing potential deportation. Joining us now to discuss, she's Marilyn Monroe with a master's degree. She's taking back tomorrow today. The host of Culturama tries to prevent strange and questionable cultures from entering the United States. I imagine what her take might be, but let's hear from her herself. Daniela Pensac, the host of Culturama, joining us live. Good morning, Daniela.
Good morning, Austin. Thank you for having me. And it's true, we want to prevent questionable cultures from entering the country, which is how I feel about this case as well.
It certainly is. It seems as if on the right today, especially online, the very online right, they're very focused on the Jews. It's all about the Jews. We have to stop the Jews, the Jewish conspiracy, the Jewish banks, all this. And meanwhile, right under our noses, we have the Muslims, the Palestinian activists committing violence here in the United States, getting educated by American taxpayers like this Mahmoud Khalil, and dedicated to actual terrorist organizations. Apparently some Americans, a sizable contingent, think that he should be allowed to stay here and commit acts of violence. Who is this kid, and why is he so controversial, and why are people defending him?
So yes, Mahmoud Khalil, he is actually a citizen of Algeria. He wasn't born here. He's not a U.S. citizen. He is living off of a green card, and he's married to a U.S. citizen, which is what is stirring some controversy, is that ICE was originally preparing to detain him and get him on the basis of his student card visa or his student visa expiring. And that was actually, as far as I'm aware, that wasn't true. It was actually, the question was related to his green card, and that's what he's living off of in here. However, the reason why ICE is looking into him, and the reason why there's a lot of controversy here, particularly it being under the Trump administration with so many deportations happening, is because Khalid was aligned with pro-terrorist organizations. Hamas is identified as a terrorist organization here in the United States. He is pro-Hamas, and he has been apparently disseminating pro-Hamas literature on campus. And as far as I'm aware, as far as I looked into the story, I read a few articles on it last night. We don't have any proof of it. I could be wrong about this, of him disseminating literature. But regardless, he is accused of doing so. And if that is the case, I believe he most certainly must be shipped back because we can't really tolerate that sort of behavior here and those sort of beliefs in the country, especially right now. And a lot of people are posing this as like an anti-Semitic issue, and how Jewish students were feeling unsafe on campus. Personally, I think it's even bigger than that. I think that if the United States tolerates this could lead into bigger issues with, like I talk about in my show, questionable cultures and particularly violent cultures like the one that this man is promoting to thrive in our country, which we just shouldn't tolerate.
Now, Daniela, Mahmoud Khalil's arrest has been framed by the Trump administration as a national security issue. You talked about that. That's tied to his activism. But some people in the chat, Drew Van Runkle, for example, he's concerned that this might set a precedent for targeting legal residents based on their political speech. And, should we be worried about that? I mean, what if we had a conservative or someone like Nigel Farage, for example, comes to the United States? If he had legal status, he could easily be targeted by the incoming Democrat administration for being a foreigner for his political speech here as well. And it's something that people like you and I would probably decry as the tyranny of big government. What do you think?
So I can completely understand that viewpoint, and that was actually initially my viewpoint when I was looking into the story. But when I looked more into Khalid himself, the individual, it drew a lot of concerns for me. First of all, being aligned with a identified terrorist organization, I think, is enough to question the status of an individual, especially if they're not a U.S. citizen. But regardless, if you look more into Khalid's history, he actually has special clearance from the British government. He has worked for the British government as well, I believe, for their embassy down in Syria, if I'm not mistaken. And so he was a student here. He was a graduate student at Columbia University. I believe he was studying something related to foreign relations or international communications. I don't quite remember exactly. But regardless, all intents and purposes, he could also be backed, from what I saw, financially backed by these terrorist organizations that could even provide him the supposed literature. So if you do look into Khalid himself, all intents and purposes, I mean, not only is he aligned with terrorist organizations, it could very well be that he's a spy, an international spy. And these are all just allegations, of course. I'm not saying that's necessarily the case, but it's just very questionable connections that he has here. And so I think when you go by a case-by-case basis, especially, when we're talking about deporting people, I think we also need to be realistic of the particular connections that these individuals have, especially their ideology as well. Now, let's be honest here. I think a reality check needs to be done. Being aligned with Hamas, a terrorist organization, is far different than perhaps what Nigel Farage would be aligned with. And I think that an analysis of the cultures involved or of the ideologies involved, even though I understand that, free speech, that free speech protections are important, and I'm a constitutionalist through and through for United States citizens. But when we're talking about people that aren't United States citizens, I think that perhaps additional purview is necessary and required to make educated decisions here. And I think in Khalil's case, it's very appropriate to go forward with this.
It's interesting, and I don't want to get too much off on a tangent, Daniela, but I'd be curious to hear your thoughts on this. The conservative argument in favor of individual and natural rights would imply that natural rights themselves are tied to the individual and rights are not granted by government. It's a view that I share as a constitutionalist and a limited government libertarian myself as well. But I guess the question about how those rights are enforced, I mean, for example, if a foreigner comes to the United States and they don't have a green card, and let's say that even that they came here to the United States illegally, it's not legal for us to just murder that person, right? You can't just take a gun and just, gun them. If somebody whispers over, sitting next to you at the mall, oh, I'm an illegal alien, you can't murder them. So in that sense, illegal aliens, even within U.S. jurisdiction, do have certain core individual rights. Would you agree?
Yes, absolutely. I think when it comes to life, that's a different conversation. But yeah, I don't think we should execute these people. But the best alternative is perhaps to remove them from our country in the most humane way possible, which means them not living here. But I would never advocate for anything like that.
But I mean,
yes.
Like conservatives say that, like the conservatives in their zeal to deport people from questionable cultures, which in many ways I can understand, right? And people coming to this country illegally should leave and only return through a legal process. I absolutely agree with that. But in their zeal to deport questionable cultures, they I think make a mistake of tying the concept of rights to government, as if the government is what grants people rights. And then they deny the concept of individual natural rights across the national border. I mean, do people in Nairobi, Kenya, do they have the same individual natural rights as granted them? Yes. It's a question. It really comes down to the question of how do you enforce those rights? And my argument has been that it's best kept within the confines of a nation state, even better within a state, even better on a local level. But I'd invite my audience to chime in. And Daniela, I want to ask you about Khalil's wife. She has become a centerpiece of the controversy. She's 8 months pregnant. She's described the arrest as traumatic and unjust, which you could understand, but also she's called it a kidnapping. How do you think that the family ordeal might influence public or legal support for his release? Will it be a big factor?
Yes, it most certainly will be a big factor, and that's the unfortunate part of the story is that he does have a woman and he did impregnate her, and she is a U.S. citizen. So we're in a weird pickle right now with dealing with this, and I can understand how people look at this case, and I initially too looked at this case and saw that. And I was like, man, this really sucks. Like, that's really difficult to deal with. And it looks bad. I agree. They're potentially tearing a family apart. But at the end of the day, I firmly believe we have to protect the nation. And if this man poses as a serious risk, which is what law enforcement is suggesting, I think it's more important to protect the nation. I don't care if he has 12 kids with her. I think that what protecting the nation comes first. I certainly don't think they're going to repopulate the population alone. So that being said, it is unfortunate that is the case, but we have to follow through with what we can here in order to protect our people. And as far as we know, I mean, I don't know their relationship. I'm not going to make any judgments. I'm sure they love each other. But him getting a wife that is an American citizen, I'm not going to make any allegations, Austin. I'm just saying that he's probably doing it for, or he probably could have done it for certain protections. And I just don't think that should be a factor in this entire situation if we're trying to protect our country from potential terrorists.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm glad I like seeing the conflict in you on this, because I think a lot of people feel the same way as you do. Certainly I felt the same way as well. But when you watch the videos of those Colombia protests, they were violent. And
Yes.
if I were to go to China and go to college there and stir up violent protests in Beijing, I don't think that they would deport me. I think that they would kill me. They would take me to a camp
Exactly.
and I would never come home. But, in many ways, that's what makes the United States better than China, right? It's in many ways the things that makes United States different from anywhere in the world. The concept of American exceptionalism is how we not only recognize the inherent natural rights of every individual, but we actually at least try to enforce them to the greatest degree possible. And a lot of this is going to come down to interpretations of the 14th Amendment and the question of how anchor babies, are impacted in citizenship and whether or not that applied only to slaves in the past or it does to today. These are, legal and judicial questions that are going to be decided by people far above our pay grade. But we as citizens and citizen journalists, we have to ask ourselves, what do we think is it? If you and I are both, America first, Daniela, then how do we sort of square this circle? How do we protect individual rights and in a country where you can come to the United States and while it is a strength that we protect individual natural rights, this some of our rights and some of our liberties here in the United States can be used against us, can't they?
They most certainly can, and it is up to the citizenry to be empowered and educated enough to keep our officials in check so we can enforce the Constitution when, at all times. And so I think being educated in every step of the process in doing so, including the judges that we have to interpret that as well, is important. And I know it's not up to us what Supreme Court judges sit, but it's very much related to the president that we vote in. So, there's all these factors involved, but ultimately what it comes down to is the activism of the citizen. And I know that's very cliche to say. I know that sounds painfully cliche, but it's also true. And it sounds painful to hear because it's also probably the hardest part of the process is to mobilize collectively in order to keep our officials in check. But as far as your question, as far as like natural rights or your statement on natural rights and the American exceptionalism to identify that, I think that's also absolutely true and a salient point because anywhere else you will not get this treatment. Maybe in Canada, a Western country, but nowhere else other than perhaps certain Western countries will you see this. But particularly in the United States, because we have certain protections that other countries just no other country has, and so it's vital that we understand these rights and we protect them, and we elect officials that are wholeheartedly opposed to protecting these principles. And I think that people like Khalid and those protesting his detention and potential deportation really don't understand how good we have it here in the United States, because you're absolutely right to assert that China would probably kill you, if not torture and then kill you if you were to do the same. And so they really should be thankful for the country that they are doing this in. And but we also and on the one hand, we should continue observing these practices and observing the protection of natural rights, regardless of who you are as a person, as a global citizen, you could say. But at the same time, we should pose a certain level of strength, not just for our own citizens or for the foreigners that are in here, but for the rest of the world, so that they show them the way we show other foreigners and people of other countries that we're not just going to back down. We're not, a country for all global citizens. We are still a nation, and that's what's important to maintain. And not only to position ourselves from the rest of the world, but also to our own citizens. That's very important for their self-identity as well.
And that's why Daniela Pensac is on the For Liberty Network. You don't get takes like that on any other podcast except for her own, Culturama. It being Thursday, of course, means that Daniela is on tonight, as well as the Liberty Tonight boys. So, Daniela, what have you got coming up on your excellent program tonight at 7 p.m. at rumble.com/Culturama?
Absolutely. So this is a story I'll be touching on and looking a little bit more in depth on Culturama tonight. But there's a lot more. Last stream, I talked about leftist derangement and how they're outright potentially attacking the citizenry with the Tesla attacks. But also I'm covering the InfoWars murder as well. And I think that's very important. I didn't see too many people talk about that. So I'm talking about on my show and expanding my research on it. There's very concerning stuff that is happening to independent journalism. And so it's important to talk about that. I also have a guest on, Vish Bora, as well. So that's going to be really exciting. He's worked on the Matt Gaetz show. He's a booker for the Matt Gaetz show, as well as other shows. And I'm going to be asking him a few questions about media and journalism as well. So it's going to be a jam-packed show. You guys don't want to miss it.
I don't want to miss it. I'll be there tonight with Daniela Pensac, rumble.com/Culturama. Me and the baby and Steffi will be watching. And then we'll be watching Liberty Tonight directly after it. Rumble.com/Culturama. Daniela, you're doing a great job. And I know you're more of an evening person than a morning person. So on behalf of everybody watching, thank you for being so generous with your time and getting up so early out there on the left coast and joining us. Have a great day.
Thank you so much, Austin.
Thank you.
Tesla. Going on now at the White House Tesla Auto Mall. It's the biggest sale of the year.
Very safe, it's very strong, heavy. It's all steel, stainless steel.
Come on down to Pennsylvania Avenue, just off Route 29, to get our best deal ever on a brand new Tesla.
I want to make a good deal here. They have one, which is $35,000, which is pretty low.
Get a Model 1 with a different panel and everything's computer.
This is a different panel than I've had. Everything's computer.
So don't waste your time going to those other Tesla dealerships with riots and flaming cyber trucks. You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
I love Tesla.
You gotta come down to White House Tesla Auto Mall.
This is really amazing.
Tesla. God, that stuff is funny. You guys, you did it. You unlocked the bonus content. Thank you, everyone. The bonus content program is returning. And you guys have unlocked today's, which is a story about a treehouse haunted by government. There's a Simpsons angle in it. It is the bonus content that has helped to finance the show over the last year. It went away for a few months while I started retooling it. It's still got a few bugs and kinks in it, but we are getting it back on its feet. And I want to say thank you to everybody like Joni Rankin and Andy Opperman and L-Dubs and Nelson65 and Drew Van Runkle and everybody that I can see here. L-Dubs, Joni, Andy, JJ4884, Mr. Drew Van Runkle, and Quest Fanning, and I think that's all I can see right now, but I know more did come in. BB for Liberty, Brad Beckman today, didn't even have to do that. Thank you guys for helping to unlock the bonus content. Now it's time to say goodbye to all our family. As we go, I'll play the bonus content, but as you exit and you're enjoying the bonus content, which I hope you do, make sure that you do a little shopping. So on another screen, the one that you're not watching the show on, go to forlibertyshop.com. Get yourself a beautiful, delicious box of coffee. Andy went over and bought one of our American flag flasks. You know, have a little tipple outside this summer when we're all enjoying the beautiful weather. God, it is starting to get beautiful again. It's making me feel good, much less sad. No seasonal affective disorder. I got to get the vitamin D, and I got to give it to Steffi P. We'll see you guys here tomorrow on the Wake Up America show on the For Liberty Network. Enjoy the bonus content. Exit through the gift shop. In the heart of Sherman Oaks, Los Angeles, a whimsical monument once stood tall. A 3-story treehouse, cradled by sweet gum trees, built by Rick Palisi, a man you might know as a producer of The Simpsons. For 24 years, this quirky structure wasn't just a plaything. It was a neighborhood legend inspired by the show's iconic Treehouse of Horror episodes. What began as a gift for his daughters in the late 90s blossomed into something bigger, a Halloween spectacle called Boney Island, where skeletons danced in lights and families flocked for 10 magical nights each year. It was a slice of pure, unscripted joy in a city that prides itself on creativity. But on March 9, 2025, after a grueling 7-year battle, that treehouse came crashing down, not by nature's hand, but by the cold grip of bureaucracy. Rick Palisi didn't set out to defy anyone. He's no rebel with a cause, just a dad who wanted his kids to climb, dream, and laugh. The treehouse, all 120 square feet of it, stood sturdy for nearly a quarter century, a testament to ingenuity over regulation. No injuries, no complaints, until 2017, when a single neighbor grumbled about the crowds of costumed kids at Boney Island. That's when the city of Los Angeles turned its gaze on Palisi. The verdict? Shut it down. The Halloween event was axed, and the treehouse, despite its flawless safety record, was slapped with permit violations. Palisi, ever the optimist, didn't give up. He rolled up his sleeves, shelled out over $50,000 in legal fees, and dove into the labyrinth of LA's permitting process to save his creation. But here's where the story takes a turn into the absurd. Palisi managed a miracle.
Securing a zoning permit, no small feat in a city drowning in red tape. Victory, right? Not quite. The LA Department of Building and Safety, known as LADBAS, had other plans. They didn't see a treehouse. They didn't see a play structure. No, they saw an accessory dwelling unit, an ADU. Picture this, a treehouse, perched 10 feet off the ground, now forced to comply with rules for a full-blown residence. Permanent plumbing? Check. A kitchen? Check. Wheelchair ramps for ADA compliance? You bet. Soil reports, structural blueprints, the works, all for a wooden hideout that had stood incident-free since Bill Clinton was president. Polisi's attorney, Paige Gosney, called it what it was: absurd. The price tag to meet these demands? Another $50,000 to $80,000, on top of the fortune he'd already spent. Polisi wasn't a scofflaw. He tried to play by the rules, jumping through hoop after hoop. But the city wasn't satisfied. In 2020, the Los Angeles City Attorney's Office hit him with 4 misdemeanor charges. Criminal counts for a treehouse that never hurt a soul. Imagine that. A man who brought joy to thousands, now facing jail time over a backyard dream. He begged for a permit waiver in April 2024, a last-ditch plea for reason. The city? Silent. No approval, no denial, just limbo. Meanwhile, the trial loomed and the city attorney doubled down, threatening to bury Polizzi in court costs if he didn't cave. By then, he'd spent 7 years and a small fortune fighting for a structure 6,000 neighbors rallied to save. But even their voices couldn't drown out the hum of the demolition crew's engines. On March 9, 2025, Rick Polizzi stood in his front yard, watching as the treehouse he built for his daughters was torn apart. "It's been up 24 years, never had an incident once," he told NBC LA, hours before the end. "It's just sad." The crew didn't just dismantle a structure, they shredded a symbol of what could be, a reminder of a time when imagination didn't need a government stamp. Polizzi had poured his heart into Boney Island, even reviving it as a fundraiser at the LA County Natural History Museum after the city shut it down at home. Over the years, it raised thousands for charity, $10,000 in 2019 alone, by some estimates. But LA didn't care about that. "It's a shame," Polizzi said, "that a city built on creativity can't make some concessions." Since the demolition, the stories exploded. Headlines, interviews, a flood of support. Polizzi didn't want the spotlight. "I just wanted to keep the treehouse I built for my daughters," he told Reason. "But I guess this has struck a nerve with people about government overreach. And who could blame them? Los Angeles, a city of 3.8 million, spends $1.3 billion a year on its bureaucracy. LADBAS alone employs over 1,100 people to enforce codes like these." Meanwhile, Polizzi's ordeal lays bare a truth. When rules trump reason, liberty takes the hit. He's done with it. He's packing up, leaving California behind, maybe taking Boney Island with him. "I want nothing to do with this city anymore," he said. And as the dust settles on Sherman Oaks, you can't help but wonder, how many more dreams will fall before the system learns to bend? Tired of spending your hard-earned money on woke corporations that don't share your pro-freedom values? Fed up with sipping liberal lattes and progressive cappuccinos? Introducing Founding Flavors from AP for Liberty Shop. Get your day started with Washington's Revolutionary Roast. As robust and principled as the man himself, this blend is the shot of energy heard round the world. Or maybe you want to taste the fervor of freedom with Adams's Patriotic Perk. It's as dynamic and balanced as the U.S. Constitution, sure to awaken your spirit of liberty. For the aficionados, we've got the Jeffersonian Java, a complex mix of flavors that speaks volumes about your refined tastes. And don't forget Betsy's Liberty Lullaby, our decaf option, crafted with the same care and dedication Betsy Ross put into our Star-Spangled Banner. This blend lets you enjoy the taste of freedom anytime without losing sleep. No woke beans here, folks. Just pure, patriotic, pro-freedom flavors brewed with love for liberty. So why compromise your principles for a cup of coffee? Stand up for your values, perk up your patriotism, and start your day the American way. Get your founding flavors at apforlibertyshop.com.